What is going on, family? Welcome back to the next episode. So, excuse the small mess behind me in the kitchen. I picked up some canned goods today, and, kind of been snacking throughout the day while I've been working on stuff. And didn't really put everything away when I was done. Anyway, welcome to the concept of actually being in the bus. Anyway, so today, tonight I should say, because I've been so busy with my day in general, kind of running around, quote unquote, running around on the scooter, trying to get stuff done that I need to get done with my time ticking. So I didn't really get to do this recording during the day today. So I'm trying it out in the bus, like at dusk, with the curtains drawn. So the only real source of light is the camping light that I picked up that I had mentioned in the previous video. So, with that being said, today's two primary topics are the seating arrangement in the back and what I have left. So, as far as the seating arrangement in the back is concerned, I've been back and forth about a couple of possibilities of what I could do with that space in terms of sitting and sleeping, whatever. Just being personal to myself space and how to properly build it out for myself. And the most recent experiment that I tried, and I'm actually kind of happy with, at least for the time being, this is something that can easily be swapped out for other things at a later point in time, or if I need a full bed setup for whatever circumstances. Anyway, so what I decided to try out most recently was I ordered a hammock chair. I will probably throw up a picture of what it looks like the way it's supposed to be set up, just so that you guys have an actual general reference of what I'm talking about. But in any event, I decided to try that out because, as I mentioned before, my preference for seating and really for sleeping is to be on something that is kind of holding me off of the ground or off of a surface, because it just seems to be more comfortable for me overall. So I wanted to go with a hammock. I tried a regular hammock, and truth be told, just size-wise, I don't think this bus is wide enough for that purpose. And it kind of made a little bit more sense recently when I was scrolling through one of the Facebook groups and noticed someone that had posted pictures, a picture of their bus gutted, but before they had actually started doing the build, and someone that was part of the group, or someone's that was part of their group, decided they wanted to go and explore a little bit with the bus before they actually furnished it. So what they ended up deciding to do was basically camping out in it, and they had hammocks strung up inside of the empty bus, and they had them all on somewhat sharp angles. I'd say if not necessarily a 45-degree angle, but a little bit sharper than that, maybe a 60-degree angle, give or take. But in any event, it was a pretty sharp angle. It wasn't just straight across left to right. It was on an angle, so feet were toward the back of the bus, head was toward the front of the bus, kind of thing. And they had 3 of them strung up. But that kind of put into perspective the space that I'm working with and what I am capable of with it in regards to trying to do the hammock thing. And it's a nice idea, just like a straight up hammock. Anyway, it's a nice idea, but it will take up too much room in that reference, and I don't know if they make them shorter. I can continue to do my research and see what I can find. You never know. But that idea is temporarily nixed given what I've seen. So the idea of a chair that is of a hammock design is what made the next best sense as far as what I could try out. So I ordered one and got it not too long ago, maybe 3 days ago. So set it up, and I'll throw up some video right about here of the chair being set up. But I'm generally happy with it. I set it up utilizing I cannot remember the name of the straps specifically, but they're basically like tie down straps, but they're shorter straps that are meant to wrap around things in order to get a grip on them. I don't have any near me. Well, no. That's not reachable at the moment. Not going to worry about it. In any event, I can throw up a picture of it later. It doesn't really matter. Of what it looks like when it's not in the position that it's in on the video. But in any event, I used 2 of those with some more heavy-duty carabiners in order to hold the hammock chair up. It came with a very intricately woven rope that then connected to a wooden bar, and then the chair itself connected to that same wooden bar, and that was how it was basically spread wide enough for someone to actually sit in. And when I looked at it online, the weight capacity was higher than what I saw in the packaging when I got it here. So, because I had a feeling I would double check it once I actually got it in my hands and saw the build quality and the materials involved, so on and so forth. Truth be told, I'm pretty sure the weak point is the wood, but I digress. So anyway, that's set up in that fashion, and then for the sake of doing the video and taking pictures, I put cushions and foam in the seating area of it in order to make sure that it was open, because I mean it comes with pillows, but those pillows are tiny, so they wouldn't really give the full exposure of the seating, the seat itself open. So I used what I had to prop it open so that it would be open enough for view. But yeah, I adjusted it to, there's a few different options using that strap as far as the actual height is concerned, and I wanted it to be as far back on the rails as I possibly could get it. So I had to have it a little higher than what I was expecting, but there's about a 3-inch clearance between the seat itself when I'm sitting in it and the structure in the back that used to have the seats on it. So it's at basically the nominal height that it can be for the location that it's in. That being said, in order to actually kind of recline in it, I initially had an ottoman that I was using when I had it much lower and closer or further forward than it is now. But I wasn't really happy with being able to reach into like the cubbies that are beside me at that point. The ones that are within reach that I would keep, like say my phone or my phone charging in that, or say I had something to drink with me while I was back there. I could use that as like table space or whatever. It wasn't really a good position in order to get to those things. So I decided to move it back further, and then I had to lift it up in order for it to have enough clearance to be usable in that space. And as far as the whole ottoman idea is concerned, I had one that I built that I had been using for reclining purposes with my previous chair that I had been sitting back there in, and that worked okay for when it was lower, but for when I raised it higher, I needed to have something taller. So I opted to utilize a couple of the milk crates that I have that I still haven't put anything in yet. I still need to get some more of those because I still got room for roughly 10 to 12, maybe even 15 or 16 more of those for the different areas that I want to utilize those for storage purposes. If I don't also use them for the cubbies. but we'll see. I haven't officially decided if I want to use any inside of the cubbies, but they do fit, so that's a nice thing. Anyway, because of that positioning, I had to have the 2 milk crates stacked and then put a cushion on top of the milk crates in order to essentially have a high standing ottoman for me to be able to recline in when I'm in the chair. Works out pretty well. The height that the chair is at, if I'm not reclining in it, it's kind of like it's a stool height, to be totally honest. It's a stool height because the positioning, my legs aren't completely straight. Like, I can bend them, but it's probably like a 30, 25 degree bend in my knees when I'm in the thing. So I am still seated, but I could completely extend my legs and be just like on an angle, resting my the majority of my weight on the seat, and I would still be generally okay. Which is actually good for other reasons in regards to my surgery, because that'll make things simple. That's another reason why the hammock made a lot of sense in terms of somewhere to be able to sit and rest, because I can use the things I have hanging from the bars, the handles in general, because I've got straps and I've got handles that came on the bus. Anyway, I can use the handles that I have hanging from the safety bars in order to lower myself into the seat, and then because it's swinging, like a hammock swings, because it's swinging, I can angle it in such a way where I can lower myself in and not have to worry about my leg positions. So that's phenomenal in regards to that. And I chose to have it angled, facing the front of the bus from the back of the bus, as opposed to from the side. Because I could have done it on the side and had it on the right, have it facing the left of the bus. But a few things deterred me from that. One, I felt that would be too much weight to put on the bars that are over there. I know they can handle a lot because of how they're designed and the seating that was connected to them originally. Part of the support was the bar from above. It didn't have actual legs. Certain seats didn't have actual legs in the corners farthest toward the back of the bus. So I know that it can support a decent amount of weight, but I didn't want to put too much on one particular bar. So it made sense to distribute my weight across both bars. Plus, it gives me the most general leg room. So depending on the design, style, whatever of ottoman that I have, or whatever I want to use for being reclined in the seat, I have room to play with that. Also, once I have the entertainment set up going that I intend on having back there, slight spoiler alert, because that was one of the things I didn't want to tell you guys about fully, but you'll see what I'm talking about when I get the opportunity to set it up. Once that's said and done, the hammock is in a good spot for me to be able to enjoy the things that I would be doing in terms of general entertainment. So, all of those things make the most sense for why I picked the position that I put it in. And I honestly could adjust it back down into a lower position, more forward, if I feel like it. I have room to play with it, basically, is what I'm saying there. So it is what it is, either way. But it works out very well. I'm happy with how I have it set up. And I've spent a few minutes at a time and a few hours at a time just kind of lounging in it, getting a feel for it. And it's overall pretty comfortable. Slightly restricting as far as like arm space is concerned, but that makes sense because the sides come up and above me in order to hang the thing. So I'm not really going to have that much wiggle room in terms of being able to flail my arms left and right. It just makes sense. But other than that, I'm good. I mean, it's generally comfortable. It adjusts nicely to me as I'm shifting around in it for the most part. It can be a slight hassle when it comes to getting the right position I want, but that's, generally speaking, me getting used to sitting in a hammock because this is the first one I've ever owned. Also, I have not spent much time in any kind of hammock before now. I generally avoided them most of my life because I've seen way too many blooper videos of people trying to get in or sit in a hammock or whatever, and them failing miserably and spilling all over the place below the thing. So I've been avoiding them for the most part, but I took a good moment to really think about it, and I was like, you know what, it's worth trying. And if it doesn't work out, at absolute worst case scenario, I still have a seat that I can use if I ever go camping, because I can take like any of the tie down straps that I have here, because the way that the seat is designed at the top of the handles, shall we say, where it actually connects to whatever supporting it, it's basically just a huge loop, and I can slip anything I want through that. Like the carabiners that are in there now, I could have a rope going through that if I wanted to tie it to a tree, or a tie down strap if I wanted to string it up between two vehicles. Whatever. It's very versatile as far as its usability is concerned. So if I don't end up using it for that, I don't necessarily have to give up on it in general. So there's all that. Now, over to point two. Point two is basically the checklist of what's left. So ultimately, I feel that the majority of what needs to be done, I would say a good 75 to 85% of my overall plans are generally done with the bus. So it's a matter of reminding myself what all I have left to do before I feel it's at the quote-unquote 100% mark. Because as we all know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, for anybody that's really a tinkerer that does this particularly, there really isn't 100% done. There's always 99.9999% done. Because you always find something you want to change, alter, modify, or you came up with a better idea for this thing versus that thing. And that's probably going to be me for the rest of the life of me owning this thing or any other vehicle that I happen to have that I do something like this with. So, with that out of the way, in order to get to 99.9 infinity% done, the major things that I know I still have to do involve putting up solar, doing the electrical in general, and the batteries. Those two kind of go hand in hand, which is why they like some of the parts haven't been officially purchased yet, like the solar panels. I'm actually going to take care of that pretty much shortly after I finish this video, or first thing in the morning, as far as putting in the actual order, so I can actually have them on me. So whether or not I'm able to put them up, or I can get someone to put them up for me in a genuinely timely manner, I will have them, because now I know what I want. That required me to get the proper measurements for the top of the vehicle, so that I could actually get the biggest ones that I could for the build. And a lovely friend of mine, who I do not believe has a YouTube channel, so I can't shout them out in reference to that, so you can go check them out, but that's okay. Lovely friend of mine from Chicago came up, different friend versus the one that came and visit me that did the video with me before. Anyway, she came up to visit me, and one of the things that we were able to take care of while she was here was measuring the roof of the bus. So with that said, I know the general workable space that I have access to, and because I might as well, there's no point in not doing it, I'm going to max that out. I don't have the exact calculation off the top of my head, but I feel like I could probably pull off somewhere between 1,700 and about 2,500 watts of solar paneling on the roof, which is nice for the fact that I have the big square, nearly flat roof on a 35-foot bus. But yeah, I'm going to be able to do a decent amount of solar up there. So I'm going to max it out and get way more than I need, quote unquote, so that I never have to worry about being without. It makes the most sense to me because the way that I've learned that you're supposed to do that when it comes to a lot of the videos I've watched with other YouTubers, as well as just talking to other people who have done bus builds, van builds, so on and so forth. You build for, at worst case scenario, cloudy days. So whatever you think you need, you build enough so that you get your general amount when the days are completely cloudy. I honestly think, at least from what I was looking into before, that around 13 to 1500 would suffice for me. But of course, once I get into the van life, or bus life, however you want to label it, the nomad life, we'll say, once I get into it officially and get moving around and doing things and getting really used to having the bus be my primary space of existence, I will know better how much I need, because I will probably come across things that I will want to add to this space that require power. But the general premise in my mind was that 13 to 15 was slight overkill given my current ideas of what I'm going to be using. But knowing that there's that possibility of wanting or needing more, I just feel like it makes sense to tack on, a little bit more, come close to doubling it just to be safe, because absolute worst case scenario, my batteries will stay topped off and that excess will get redirected to powering all of the things that I want to power, so I can be in a more standardized setting as far as the home life or general day-to-day functions of being in here. So, refrigeration, entertainment, so on and so forth. I have more than enough, and that's my hope. So that's that. And with the wiring, I have pretty much all of the components. It's really just a matter of knowing exactly where I want things to go, and then getting the wires to go from where the batteries are going to be housed to that location. I could honestly set up like my MPPT and all of that as I see fit, and get everything wired well before I get my hands on the batteries that I need to get, just to have everything in place so that when I do have the batteries, I can just drop them in, connect everything, and go. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. I'll get to it when I can get to it. Most likely it'll be during my hiatus time, when I'm able to be mobile enough to get around to some degree. But that also depends on where I choose to wire things, because I don't want to have to deal with climbing and things along those lines being physically unstable. So we'll see. I'll figure it out when I figure it out. Not the end of my world. That's one of the reasons why I got the modular setup that I got with the solar panels that I currently have and the batteries and whatnot, because it gives me the ability to function as I need to function until I get all of that set up. Also, the secondary factor is that I can take all of these things with me when I do shows, so I can power the things I need to power at the shows. I don't have to worry about having to get access to power at the location that I'm at, whether that's free or paid, totally irrelevant. But when I do get power where I'm at, I can appreciate it. But when I don't have access, I got my own. So that's the nice thing about doing this the way that I'm doing it. It's doubling up that overall functionality. Anyway, those were the first two, kind of two-in-one thing. But anyway, the next thing is getting new tires. I still have to go through the list of places that I was suggested to look into for tires. I did just recently gain a little bit of information on some tools that I can get my own hands on in order to be able to actually take my own tires or my own wheels off. Because I was initially under the impression I would most likely be basically forced to only be able to do that at a garage that could handle this size of a vehicle and this type of a vehicle. But I learned about a couple of specific tools. Don't know how much they cost yet. We'll see how that plays out. But I know of a couple of specific tools that give me the ability to do what I need to do as far as like changing a wheel if I need to. I just need to get a hold of a few other things as well so that I can be able to prop the bus up for the sake of not damaging the hardware where the wheel goes when I take the wheel off and when I'm putting a new one on. But once I'm able to essentially change my own wheel, I will be less worried about ever being stranded. At least in terms of that. Because that's probably one of the biggest things that mentally bothers me conceptually about being out and about, you know, having a wheel blow that makes it so that I can't actually drive it anymore, and having to get it towed to a facility, which is going to be an arm and a leg, that can change the wheel, which is going to be an arm and a leg, and, you know, just to get back on the road. But since I need to change them out anyway, because I believe the documentation said that the tread was at about 30% for the front ones, excuse me, and 40% for the rear, maybe 45, but something along those lines. I feel better off, at very least, getting new front ones, but most likely getting all new tires to be done with it, so I don't have to worry about that for a decent amount of time. But if I get the tools to be able to swap them out myself, then that takes a huge weight off of my mind, because then I can just buy the wheels that I need and put them on myself, versus having to worry about the high expense of the wheels and the high expense of the labor. And I don't know how often or how many times that labor will be necessary, so investing in the tools, in my mind, makes more sense, to not have to worry about investing in labor multiple times. So, new tires at some point, preferably before I actually leave. I don't really want to go any long distances without getting those tires replaced, whether I have someone do it professionally or I buy them from a professional and do it myself. Doesn't really matter, or get help, whatever. That's gonna happen. Big thing number 4 would be the floor. Again, I mentioned that's going to be a far off thing that's probably going to happen maybe next year or so, depending on general recovery and how things play out with lining up shows when I get back into doing the conventions on a more consistent basis, so on and so forth. But it is something that's going to happen. That's truth be told, that's one of the core reasons that I am setting this up in the modular way that I am, so that I can move stuff out to work on the floor and then move the stuff back in, or be able to rearrange it or whatever. You know, if I'm building things into the walls and the floor, I will have a hard time taking them out in order to move the floor. So yeah, that's that. Those are the major things. There are a few odds and ends in regards to tools and materials necessary. Mostly tools, I believe, because materials, I have a slight abundance of materials that I can utilize for this purpose. But things like securing the cabinets for the kitchen area, be that temporary or permanent, I'm most likely going to do it in a way where I can, when I remove the floor, I can put the brackets that I cut up back into the places that they need to be, so that everything can be reassembled and remounted where they belong without any issues. So other than that, that's pretty much about it in regards to that. Well, in regards to the floor, because I was kind of tangenting back to the floor with the small odds and ends. Aside from that, it's a matter of getting the materials that I have in here that aren't currently being utilized for anything, or will be utilized later on for things. Just getting them out of here so that I have room to put things where they belong, lay things out properly, and just not trip over materials. Because there's no reason for me to have them in here like I had them in here initially before I had a lot of the stuff set up. So now that I'm mostly set up, I can actually pick and choose what I want to keep in here in terms of general materials so that I'm not taking up more space than I need. Or giving myself more drama than I need to deal with as far as what's taking up the space that's in here. That is the primary list. Honorable mentions are I may look into replacement batteries for the bus itself, because I don't know how old the ones I have are, and I don't know what the health is of them at the moment. I still got to actually figure out where they're specifically located so that I can actually check on them. I think I know, given what I've seen from other people's videos and pictures and whatnot that I've researched, but I can't guarantee that. So I'm not going to speak as if I know what I don't know. But yeah, I want to do that. I still intend on getting myself a gas gauge. Yes, this bus is lacking a gas gauge. That happened with these buses being in fleets. Occasionally, depending on the company involved, they may or may not have a gas gauge in them because, generally speaking, they run them constantly, and then when at the end of the night, part of the procedure of putting them away is gassing them up for the next day. So essentially, they don't intend on them ever running out of gas. So I happened to get one that didn't have a gas gauge. It is what it is. I've got a couple of leads on how I can handle that. And we'll see how that goes over time. It will most likely happen, but I generally have a solid idea of what I'm working with for now. So the smart thing will just be to fairly frequently top off to be safe. And I shouldn't have to worry about anything. But I mean, these things have, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. These things have either a 75-gallon tank or a 150-gallon tank. Occasionally 100, but I don't think this particular brand, the New Flyer, does 100-gallon tanks. I think they either do 75 or 150. Anyway, they have between 75-gallon tanks and 150-gallon tanks. That being said, even if this thing were so bogged down that I was only getting 5 miles to the gallon, this is worst case scenario. You get 5 miles to the gallon. If I topped it off right before I went somewhere, I should be able to get at very least 375 miles. Generally speaking, I mean, if you include things like getting caught in bad traffic, a lot of stop and go traffic, blah blah blah, I would chop off 75 for a single run just to be safe. So, absolute worst case scenario, I get 300 miles to the tank. It's absolute worst case scenario. I don't think mile per hour range. We'll see. I will actually start figuring that out as I go. I've actually had vehicles that have had bad gas gauges before. So once I learned what full meant, or I'm sorry, what empty meant in the vehicle, I could generally gauge, especially because I was more routine with my with the things that I did, and I actually kept track of the odometer, so I could utilize that to get a solid gauge on how much distance I can cover given the amount of gas I have in the tank. I don't intend on really trying to do the full to empty thing, but I will at very least be able to top off, go somewhere, and then top off again, calculate how much gas that I used to get that distance and what the mileage was, and get a rough estimate to start of what my actual gas mileage is. I do intend on trying to contact the company that manufactured the bus to see if I can actually find out how big the tank is on this thing, because I haven't been able to find any information given the VIN number or any other reference numbers from the bus. I haven't been able to find enough information on the internet to be able to tell myself, and this is one that they no longer offer or service at the company itself. So as far as I know, they don't service it. But I know it's retired from their general build production system for a while now. They have gone like half electric at this point. I would love to get my hands on one of those. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. I should be able to figure it out. I should be able to get a rough estimate and understanding. And until then, at very least, every 100 miles, just gas up. It just makes sense, which that's like a couple of hours of driving, generally speaking. When I take long hauls, I'm probably going to be stopping every couple of hours anyway, because that's my general habit when it comes to driving long distances. Stop every couple of hours, hit the bathroom, grab something to snack on, eat or drink, whatever, and then get back on the road. With the bus, as long as I keep track of places that I can stop, that I can be generally guaranteed to be able to have access to diesel, it's just a matter of me making sure I get to those places in that general reference of time for my my general driving habits, and do my same general routine with all the other stuff, but also make sure I get gas. Simple as that. Keep her topped off, shouldn't have an issue. But yeah, those are the majority of things that I can currently remember that are on my overall checklist of things left to do. I don't feel like that list is really all that long, given all of the crap that I've gotten done so far. But, a couple of them are big, like the floor and the solar and the wiring. The wiring isn't quite as big as the solar, just because of at least in my head, the things that need to be done in order to accomplish those. Because I don't have to get up on the roof to do the wiring. That's just for the solar, and then whatever amount of wiring comes in when after the solar is done being mounted, and that's good. That's said and done. I don't have to worry about that anymore, outside of figuring out how I can get up there to clean them if I'm ever dealing with snow. Because that was the only thing that I really learned recently, or thought of recently, that could possibly be a drawback to having them mounted flat, is if I'm in a snowy area and they get covered in snow, they're generally not usable. So I need to have a way to either get up there or reach up there and clean them off. Preferably, that is a physical object that's brushing or safely scraping off. There is always possibility of just using hot water, but I don't want that hot water to then freeze up on them and start making them crack and stuff like that. But I haven't really researched that yet to be able to know what's the best way to handle that. I do need to at least throw that question out there on one or all of the Facebook groups to see how people handle that. Maybe check out some YouTube videos as well to see if I can find somebody that has some hints and tips and tricks or whatever in regards to that. Who knows? We will see. But I do want to try to be ahead of the curve on that one. Either reference works. Anyway, I want to be ahead on that one so that I don't have to worry about that when the situation plays itself out and I'm not prepared. I'd rather be prepared if I can be. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today. I cannot remember any other items off the top of my head that need to be on that checklist, but I'm sure there are small ones that will come up. Actually, one just popped into my head now. At some point in time, I probably do want to do something with my driver's seat. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not really comfortable either, especially for long rides, because it was an hour and a half to get it back here from Madison to where I'm at now. But it's okay. So it's not a major thing. And I do have some rust underneath the vehicle in that area that I do need to give some attention to. I don't know how bad it is. I have pictures of the rust, but I don't know how bad it is because I don't know in the context of the vehicle how bad what I'm looking at really is for the vehicle. I do have a friend that's supposed to be helping me out with that at some point, but there's some complications that have come up, so that hasn't gotten dealt with yet. Plus, I still haven't figured out how I'm going to be able to get this thing up on any kind of platform or anything for a human to be able to get underneath it to even bother dealing with that. So hopefully I can get that figured out soon. If not, it'll have to wait until later. It is what it is. I can only work with what I'm given the opportunity to work with, and life likes to throw curveballs at me and make things a little bit more difficult than they should be. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to trip about it. I spent enough time tripping about it when things first went south for me, with getting into the accident and everything. So, I've already been down that road. I don't need to hang out there anymore. The scenery's not that great. So, that's it. I'm done. No more tangents. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you know when the videos come out. Make sure that you check out my Patreon so that if you want to throw a few bucks my way, help me out, just keeping things moving forward. It will definitely be appreciated, as well as the reciprocal hookup of me offering discount options for my web store. So if you want to buy anything from me, you know, all the cool things I make with lasers, you can get a discount on those if you follow me on Patreon. There are different tiers and there are different options, and there's other perks involved as well. There will be blooper reels going up. Basically, I mean, they're not really bloopers per se. They're just cut videos of when I screw up whatever I'm trying to say or do. But hey, perk is a perk. So I'm probably downplaying it more than it's worth, and it's probably way more hilarious than I think that any of those videos are. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's it. Again, thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and keeping track of my craziness, listening to all of this nonsense that I'm talking about, and dealing with all of this craziness that I'm actually doing and seeming to accomplish to some degree. I appreciate you all. If you have any comments on things I could be doing better, things I could change that would be more efficient, suggestions on ways to do other things, hit the comment section up. Let me know what's on your mind. I'm not going to be upset if you tell me that I'm doing something stupid, because I know I'm doing something stupid. That's the whole point. I'm doing something different from nearly everybody else. I'm about the only person on YouTube right now that's doing this with a transit bus. Most everybody's doing schoolies with school buses, and then you have the people that are in the van life and dealing with the cars and the SUVs and so on and so forth. But almost nobody is personally doing a transit bus. We're few and far between. So I'm more than willing to listen. I'm more than willing to at least consider what you have to say. I'd appreciate if you could be respectful in the comments. No one's really being disrespectful in the comments, but I'm just kind of getting ahead of that problem if I can. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Thank you for being here. Have a good night. And until next time, peace.